Good evening. At this time, we'll start the governing board meeting. Let the record reflect that all board members are present. And this evening, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by kindergarten students from Miss Christina Villegas' class at Luke Elementary School.
Come up. Here they come. Good job.
Wonderful job, students. Thank you. As a result of an event that disrupted our most recent board meeting, I will be reciting our recently revised public meeting notice. While we have displayed this notice prior to all board meetings, I felt the need to remind our community of the following. Public meetings are an important component of Dysart Unified School District. Governing board members sit together on a common platform to exchange views and opinions and reach solutions benefiting the Dysart community. The behavior of participants and guests at a governing board meeting is important to the successful governance of the district. Dysart respects the First Amendment rights of the community members to share their comments with the board through civil discourse. In that vein, the following rules will be followed. All present will demonstrate behavior that reflects respect for self and others. Disorderly conduct that interferes with the education processes of this district is not allowed by Arizona Revised Statute 13-2911 or by board policy. Failure to comply with reasonable requests to cease disruptions from the work of this governing board will not be tolerated. If any person engages in disorderly conduct, an immediate recess of this lawful meeting may occur, with those behaving in an offensive or abusive manner being identified, warned, and requested to stop all disruptive distractions which have prevented transactions of this lawful meeting. Thank you. And first up, we have our public hearing. Dr. Croto.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we begin with a public hearing for our fiscal year 25-26 expenditure budget, and that is Ms. Marydell Spalding.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Cabinet and community, tonight we are here to present the first budget revision for our fiscal year 25-26 school year. As required by statutes, we are required to adopt a budget by July 15th, which the district did do, and then we usually have a revision by the December 15th timeframe. However, as we noted earlier in our previous budget presentations, at that time the legislature was still in session, and so we are revising it by now a September 15th deadline by the state in order to incorporate those changes that were approved at the legislature. And so also they issued new state budget forms, and so we had to ensure that that information is captured there. So tonight we'll briefly go over the largest changes that were the result of legislation that are embedded into the budget. So you'll see those three items there. The base level change went up 2%. So that is the per pupil funding we received, so that is now at $5,113.26. Additionally, Prop 123 came to an end. However, it was replaced with supplemental state funding from the State General Fund. And so our estimated amount for this year is approximately $1.5 million. And we are receiving, again, that one-time free and reduced price lunch, that FRPL and their district additional assistance. Those are two state supplemental fundings that come in totaling approximately $1.3 million. It is based on actual student counts, so this is our best estimate at this point in time. And again, in future revisions, we will be updating the projections for that. So those items were added into our maintenance and operations fund. So that's where you see our total budget limit now from our adopted budget to our revised budget is going up to $222.26 million. A change that you'll note on there now is on these new state budget forms, there is a section of budgeted carry forward that they want districts to now include, stating what is our estimates that we have embedded. And so we do have our board adopted policy to ensure that we have at least 4% of our budget limit set aside as reserves. We do as a district have above and beyond that. However, we are just reflecting the minimum amount of our budgeted carry forward. And so you do see that line item there. So it's a little bit different. So when you do compare it to the adopted budget, it looks as if those programs above have less budget, but that's because the carry forward used to be embedded within those line items. So pulling it out is just giving it a different look. However, all those programs continue to be supported as previously planned. The next two items are our capital funds, our unrestricted capital fund. We did have either various projects or just final equipment items that were not received by fiscal year end that we did carry forward. So that is the largest difference that makes up that $800,000 increase or so. And our emergency building renewal grant fund, it reflects projects that are approved through the school facilities division. It has an updated amount of $3.6 million, which the board is aware we have primarily two large projects that have been approved through the state, and that's the Kingswood roofing replacement, as well as our Marley Park chillers. So those two projects are expected to be finalized this year, and that's what makes up the largest majority of that amount. Finally, our classroom site fund, it was revised to account for actual expenditures that occurred during this encumbrance period of July and August, and it was related to performance pay. So we did update that amount because now we have a decreased carry forward amount, so that's really the only change that affected our classroom site fund. And then our special projects funds, those are the multiple funds that you usually see on page 6 of our detailed budget reports, which the board does have in advance. Really the largest change was, or the only change was in our federal grants, and that's just updating grant balances. And we will be receiving updated or final allocations when the state approves all those grants and we update for carry forward. So you will see that at our December budget revision. And as always, we have our annual financial reports page on our budget website. I try to promote this, and I'm hoping to get more viewership there, but everyone's welcome to go see all that information. We update this for all the budgets and our annual comprehensive reports, et cetera. So at this point, it is a public hearing, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have anyone in our audience at this time that would like to approach the board with a question? Hearing none. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, at this time, I will move to item B1, and I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
A second.
Motion carries. All right, moving to recognitions. Dr. Croteau.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, we are back. Our students are in action, our schools are hopping, and our performances are back. So tonight we have a special guest. You can see them, and Mr. Musey will introduce our guests.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Croteau, and guests. We are very fortunate tonight to have the Shadow Ridge Marching Band with us, and that's under the direction of Mr. Kerwin Forrest.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, band. Thank you, Mr. Forrest. Thank you. All right, next up, we have audience with individuals.
This is the time for the public to comment. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431 1.01H. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. In order to facilitate accomplishing the business of the district in a timely manner, a time limit of 3 minutes will be imposed for each individual or group addressing the board. When you approach the podium, please state your name for the record. First speaker is Michael Planete.
Mike Planeta. Okay. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Croto. I just want to let you know who I am and what I'm part of right now. I have a political committee called Citizens for a Better Surprise. I'm helping out with the 2 bond initiatives that are going to be on the ballot in November. Things are going really well right now. We're probably about halfway through our fundraising, and we've done that in a very short period of time. There seems to be a lot of energy with people wanting to be involved and help out because it's extremely important that we have strong public schools. And it's been 19 years since we've had a general bond passed. And 19 years ago, I was actually serving on the governing board when we passed that. But it's way overdue. So I came here to really encourage our members of the board to really help get involved and be a part of this because I feel the momentum, and I think the district does too. We're getting a lot of people involved. I have Paul Betts as my political consultant. He's phenomenal. He's with High Ground Political Consultants. And I don't know if you noticed, when you came in, the signs are up already. We already got 100 signs up. The firefighters from Surprise not only have been great financial help to us, but they're also, whatever we need, they said, we'll put all the signs up. So they're all up right now. Hopefully they make it through the storms the next couple of days. If not, we'll put them back up again. But I just wanted to come and introduce myself to you and let you know how things are going. And I hope to see you guys in the front of this too, helping us out, because it's going to take all of us to get this passed. And I think we're going to do it. So that's all I had to say. I just wanted to introduce myself. So have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Amy Husted.
Not as tall as that guy. My name is Amy Husted. I'm a 23-year resident in the Dysart district, and I became a Dysart parent in 2004 when Marley Park opened and my oldest daughter started attending there. She was one of the few 8th grade graduates that had spent all 8 years there, and then she graduated from Valley Vista in 2017. My youngest is a Shadow Ridge graduate, the class of 2022. She's now attending ASU, and Kelly's a graduate now working in law enforcement. I have sat on PTA boards, booster boards, and continue to have much love and gratitude for all the teachers, coaches, and administrative team members that nurtured and built my children to be the people they are today. I've remained in contact and have friendships with many to this day. I have been an active community member both in favor and opposed to passage of bonds and overrides. I have followed every superintendent change from Dr. Pletnick to our current Dr. Crudo. As you can imagine, I'm attentive to each election of a new board member, and this is what brings me here this evening. I'm concerned there seems to be some toxicity in the ranks of our board. We appear to have some members that clearly have no understanding what their position is intended to provide the community and those they were elected to represent. There are board members attempting to use this position as a means to intimidate not only other board members, but also leaders of the El Mirage and Surprise City Council, along with school district employees, demanding they choose alliance with them over personality conflicts. In backhanded and childish fashion, some are using fake social media accounts to smear the character of another. This is not a good look. In fact, it's the height of hypocrisy to use a fake profile, accusing another of just that, while posting pictures of your own kitchen, exposing who you really are. You sit on the dais for nothing more than steering the governance of the Dysart School District. Your duty is to the voter, the taxpayer, and most importantly, the students and parents in this district who send their children to school to be educated. They're not concerned with your petty personal opinion about each other, your political leanings, or your social media footprint. To know that a member of our community was assaulted physically by a board member's spouse at the last meeting, accidentally on purpose, is appalling and shameful. I've seen emails with the words copy and paste this and send it to the superintendent, with your name signed at the bottom directing someone else to send it as their own, demanding your agenda be followed. This is egregious and shameful. I read this quote somewhere recently. Elected officials have a solemn duty to represent the will of their constituents, even when it conflicts with their own personal beliefs. This duty is not optional. It is a cornerstone of representative government. I will close with this. The school district has grown by leaps and bounds over the 23 years I've been here. There have been hiccups and bumps along the way, but the previous board and some members of this current board have done some amazing things in this district, moving it forward while driving the focus to remain on education, fiscal responsibility, and accountability to those you serve, while avoiding the pitfalls of political landmines and working toward an open, good working relationship with the superintendent. A strong
Thank you. Next speaker is Mirage Copeland. I apologize if I said it wrong.
For the record, that's Marcy Copeland. No, that's okay. Okay, I apologize, allergies, I'm a little congested. So I'm sure this was brought up maybe several weeks ago. I don't know if anybody's come up and talked about it or not. I am beyond furious with the school board right now, and every parent here should be. Your decision to eliminate bus services for my son and nearly 400 other students at Sonoran Heights is an absolute betrayal of this community's trust. And then to add insult to injury, you have the audacity to blow $500,000 on a lavish 3-day conference trip to Caesars Palace in Las Vegas for 197 employees. This is not just a misstep, it is a disgusting display of misplaced priorities and a slap in the face to every family struggling because of your choices. According to the Arizona Family News on August 11th, you cut bus routes to save roughly $500,000, forcing kids to navigate dangerous streets in 110-degree heat, while parents scrambled to rearrange work schedules and find rides. Meanwhile, you sent nearly 200 staff to a conference in Vegas, spending the exact same amount you claimed to save by abandoning our kids' transportation. Dr. Croto, you defended this and called this fiscally responsible and highly productive. I've worked in the government, the federal government, and I know better. Budgets can be reallocated when the will is there. Don't insult our intelligence with excuses that the money was locked in some untouchable fund. That is nonsense. This isn't just about the dollars and cents, it's about what you value. You chose a glitzy Vegas trip where some staff were even spotted gambling during your breaks over the safety and well-being of our children. Even more outrageous, the school transportation department is allowing remaining bus stops to be placed next to houses of registered pedophiles, furthering endangering our children and potentially violating Arizona's law 133727A, which prohibits sex offenders from residing within 1,000 feet of school or bus stops in certain cases. Yet your department's negligence allows these dangerous placements, putting our children at risk. How can you justify this reckless oversight? Attempts with the transportation department resulted in the answer of, well, if that's the case, we wouldn't have bus stops anywhere. You have defended this trip as highly productive. Where's the evidence? Dr. Kate Barnes, an educated researcher quoted in the report, said, it's hard to justify expecting drastic student outcomes from a $500,000 3-day event. Yet you sent 38 employees in 23, 98 in 24, and nearly 200 this year alone, each time escalating the costs while our kids lose out. How dare you prioritize this over getting our children to school safely? We demand accountability. Reinstate the bus services and relocate bus stops away from dangerous locations to comply with Arizona law and protect our children. Explain how this reckless spending and negligence were allowed to happen. Show us you care about our students by reallocating funds to where they belong, our children, not your Vegas vacations. The parents of Surprise are enraged, and we will not stand for this.
Thank you.
Next up, we have item E1, student update. Dr. Croto, do we have a student update?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, we do. Tonight, we return with our student update, and Mr. Musey will introduce our guest.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Croto. Tonight, we have our first student update of the year, and obviously we have student councils on each of our 4 high schools. They come together and meet as a district council and representatives, and tonight we are joined by Ben Trong. He's their speaker. He's a senior at Shadow Ridge High School to share some updates with us.
Good morning, Madam President, Governing Board, and Dr. Croto, and Cabinet. My name is Ben Trong, and I am the Senior Class President of Student Council at Shadow Ridge High School and President of our District Leadership Council. We held our first meeting 2 weeks ago focusing on our collaboration and collective planning for the future. During this meeting, members elected 2 new leaders for our future. We elected 2 new members, reflected on the successes and the challenges of the past year, and began initial preparations for the 2025 through 2026 school year. The school year began with a variety of spirited events throughout the district. Shadow Ridge celebrated its return with the Shadow Ridge Flies Back Home Spirit Week and a back-to-school assembly, and shared details for our upcoming September 27th glow-themed homecoming. Valley Vista hosted a senior sunrise, a SpongeBob-themed Spirit Week, and a very well-attended back-to-school dance with up to 300 students, and a homecoming set for October 24th under the theme of Ode to Storm Coming. Willow Canyon scheduled its senior sunrise for September 5th and will hold its Once Upon a Time homecoming on September 20th. Sundown energized students with Spirit Week activities, a homeroom competition, and announced a September blood drive. Dysart is keeping momentum high with its chaos curriculum Spirit Week this week with a back-to-school assembly on August 29th. They are also gearing up for homecoming with a parade on October 3rd, followed by the dance on October 4th. Together, these efforts highlighted our enthusiasm to be back on our campuses and to show the leadership of our Dysart student councils as they set the tone for another great school year. Thank you.
Great updates. Thank you.
Good job, Ben.
Next, we have item E2, Superintendent Update.
Thank you, Madam President. One quick update tonight. I'd just like to remind everybody and invite everybody, we're doing a Dysart Unified School District Community Connection Tour on September 17th. It's going to be from 8 to 12:30. It's for anybody in our community that would like to come in and check out the awesome things going on in our district. We're going to start here at 8 o'clock in the district office, have a quick overview and a breakfast, and learn about the district, and then we will board buses and go to 3 of our schools to check out what's going on. The schools be greeted, by the principals, and start touring the campuses, including going inside classrooms and seeing what's going on in our classrooms, and watch students become really smart in our schools. So we are looking forward to doing that. It's a great opportunity, and would like anybody in our community. It's open to anybody. We're trying to get the word out. Just a good time to come see what Dysart is all about and the great things we're doing. So that's September 17th, 8 o'clock right here. And you can get more information online. And that's it for my update.
Thank you, Dr. Croto. Next up, we have Governing Board Update.
All right, I want to give a thanks to the staff and community members that supported the day when the air conditioning went out at Marley Park. I know that you guys responded very well with that. And I know that the staff, had to react to it, and just the community being able to pick up their children, and we also to have the off-site location available for the children who couldn't get picked up. I really much appreciate it and want to say thank you. And then conveniently, the new units, they're pretty much right there getting ready to get installed. And of course, it has to happen, the year goes out on it. So, but thank you. Also, I would like to thank the staff and community members that supported the water leak at the Dysart High School. It's been a busy August for maintenance, and very, very well done getting everything back turned on. I know I was talking to Dr. Croto, there was a moment that he's like, nobody breathe. We don't want this valve to go bad. So, it went in, and we were able to place another order for a valve. So very much appreciative on that. And then that's all I have. Thank you.
I attended the Shadow Ridge school visit on August 11th. I just want to say thank you to Principal Hester and her administration team for a wonderful welcome, and then having the wonderful dialogue with your with the teachers, the classified staff, the students, and the parents. It was a wonderful visit, so thank you. And then today, also visited Thompson Ranch. Principal Kerr, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us to be there. Another great visit with his administration team. Got to have great dialogue again with staff, teachers, parents, students. Just want to say thank you for the warm welcoming. I enjoy going to them, learn a lot, especially from the students. They're the best part. So thank you.
I also attended the Shadow Ridge school visit, and it was great to listen to the teachers, administrators, and students and parents, and hear about their enthusiasm for their school. And thank you to the principal, Mrs. Hester. Thank you.
I just wanted to reiterate what Board Member Scavara said. The maintenance of fixing the Marley Park, the families, getting the kids out, and then the Dysart High School. It was really incredible work to get that turned around so quickly, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
I had the opportunity to attend the School Safety Summit. This was a local conference which focused on how Arizona schools can best prepare for critical incidents and the need for emergency operations planning. I just want to say that I am so proud of our district, who was also present, for their commitment in keeping up to date with current trends, technology, and just securing vital dollars to ensure we're properly staffed and prepared. And that is all I have. With that, I will move to item F1. I move to approve consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
Motion carries. Okay, moving to information discussion, item H1. Dr. Croto.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we start what we called our CIP reports, our continuous improvement reports, which now we are calling the school spotlights, which will give you a chance to see the amazing growth that our faculty and staff are making with our professional learning communities and everything that we're doing to make students successful on our campus. And with that, we have two schools, and Dr. Asai will introduce our schools this evening.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. It is my pleasure to introduce Principal Joey Toki of Riverview Elementary and her fantastic PLT.
All right. Sorry for those technical difficulties. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Croto, and members of the cabinet. My name is Joey Toki, and I have the distinct honor of serving as the proud principal of Riverview School. It is with great pride that I present this evening's PLC Spotlight along with my fabulous fourth grade team. Tonight, I am excited to highlight the incredible work of our fourth grade team, Mrs. C., Ms. Gowans, Mrs. Anders, Mr. Haynes, and Mrs. Hart, as they share their journey with the PLC process and the powerful impact it has had on student achievement and their collaborative team culture. For the 24-25 school year, our goals were clear. Increase overall proficiency on the AASA assessment by 3% and reduce the percentage of students performing at the minimally proficient level by 3%. In the pursuit of these goals, the fourth grade team centered their work around the three big ideas of a PLC: a focus on learning, a focus on collaboration, and a focus on results. Their commitment to this work produced powerful outcomes: a 20% reduction in intensive students as measured by the Acadience Reading Assessment compared to the same cohort's performance in third grade, a reduction in minimally proficient students on AASA by 11% in ELA and 12% in math, an increase in AASA math proficiency by 6%, exceeding the grade level goal. For our students receiving special education services, proficiency was 12% in ELA and 24% in math, a direct result of intentional collaboration between general education and special education teachers. 14% of our students in fourth grade showed proficiency on the AZELA. This team is a model of what's possible when educators commit to shared goals, intentional planning, and data-informed instruction. Their mindset is not one of simply meeting expectations. They are determined to exceed them with a laser focus on essential standards, targeted interventions, and meaningful enrichment. They also understand that this level of impact is only achievable through authentic collaboration and clear structures that protect and support their PLT time, ensuring that their students remain at the center of every decision. It is now my great pleasure to welcome our Riverview fourth grade team to share their story, a story of dedication, growth, and success through the power of PLCs. And I'd like to welcome to the podium Mrs. C.
I'm Mrs. C, and I would like to share what we did in fourth grade as a team and how we collaborated. The 4 PLC questions were the framework for our meetings. What do we want students to learn? How will we know if they have learned it? What will we do if they haven't learned it? And what will we do if they already know it? During our weekly PLT meetings, our fourth grade team engaged in focused, collaborative work to strengthen instruction and improve student learning. We looked at student work and cool downs, and when discrepancies or challenges were found, we worked together to adjust pacing, modify lessons, and share successful strategies. This consistent cycle of collaboration allowed us to refine instruction, maintain alignment, and better support all learners. In January, we became very intentional in backwards planning by looking at the unit tests first, then checking lessons and daily cooldowns to make sure everything was aligned to the essential standards. This made sure every standard was taught clearly and nothing was missed. Now I'd like to welcome Ms. Gowans to the podium.
Hi everyone, I'm Ms. Gowans, and I'm going to share what we did to plan common formative assessments. During our PLT time, our team created common formative assessments based on essential standards and our backwards planning. We also utilized the data from our weekly cold read assessments and math cooldowns to create our common formative assessments and checks for understanding. As a team, we created these in Illuminate to give our students practice with similar types of questions that they would be seeing on our unit assessments and district benchmarks. By tightly aligning our curriculum, instruction, and assessments, students were already familiar with the assessment items and expectations. This alignment led to better prepared learners and more confident test takers. Now I'd like to welcome Ms. Anders to the podium.
Thank you. I am Mrs. Anders, and I will be sharing what we did in the fourth grade for our enrichment. We started by analyzing the data from multiple sources to identify those high-achieving and gifted students, which that directly addresses the PLC question number 4, what do we do when students already know? As a team, we provided enrichment tasks and extension opportunities. These were specially designed assignments that we called math and read that were aligned to a standard that they have mastered. These were used to support lesson extensions during stations or after classwork was already done. Students were able to choose from a group of extension assignments that would help them further their learning on a standard or skill. At this time, I'd like to welcome Mr. Haynes to the podium.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Haynes, and I'll be sharing what we did in the fourth grade for interventions. We collaborated as a fourth grade team and also in conjunction with our instructional coaches to plan our small group interventions. After reviewing the data from Acadience reading, unit tests, cool downs, cold reads, and benchmarks, we found the immediate needs of our students in both math and ELA, which directly correlates to PLC question number 3. What do we do when students do not show mastery? Utilizing a variety of resources, including Savvis interventions, illustrative math, Centers, Read 180, and IXL, we were able to bridge the learning gaps of our students. Read 180 workbooks were used to teach our small group interventions. Each student had their own individual workbook in front of them while they were working with their teacher. Now I'm going to welcome Mrs. Anders back to the podium along with Mrs. Hart.
Mrs. Hart, our ESS teacher, joined my class twice a day, 4 days a week, and we co-taught the lessons as per the pacing guide. On some days, I led instruction while she circulated to monitor and support students with specially designed instruction. She was able to also provide immediate feedback to any student needing help and could step in to clarify concepts to the whole group if multiple students were confused. Other days, she would take the lead in instruction and I would be able to circulate. Each week, we sat together to go over the lessons that were being taught and the focus of each lesson. We were able to use our co-teaching abilities to not only share the instruction, but to also pull multiple small groups in our lesson time. Overall in the grade, we were able to see growth in both our ELA and math benchmarks for not only the overall grade level, but for ESS students specifically. At this time, I would like to welcome back Mrs. C.
In our fourth grade classrooms, we created opportunities for academic conversations. These are structured discussions where students explain their thinking, they listen to their peers, and they build on one another's ideas. These conversations happen while students solve problems, sort information, or compare strategies. Academic conversations increase engagement because students are active participants rather than passive listeners. They strengthen academic language, deepen understanding, and help students respectfully refine each other's reasoning. Talking through ideas clarifies thinking and exposes students to new perspectives. By making student talk central to learning, academic conversations foster collaboration, critical thinking, and confidence in expressing ideas, skills that support both academic success and lifelong learning. The data showed significant growth from benchmark 1 to benchmark 2, specifically in math. We started implementing academic conversations in October, right before benchmark 1. Now I'm going to welcome Ms. Gowans back to the podium.
In our classrooms, we had students own their learning through interacting with their own data. When students own their learning through data tracking, they actively take responsibility for understanding where they are, where they're going, and how to get there. As a grade level, we implemented this strategy to help increase awareness of their learning, boost motivation, support goal setting, encourage reflection, and to build accountability. It was incredibly rewarding to watch a student recognize their growth over the year and see the excitement on their face as their data graphs grew and they were able to color in more of their data chart because their scores were improving. Students had a sense of pride and ownership in their learning and data. Tracking their data also helped them set goals between benchmark 1 and benchmark 2, which led to the growth of our students in both ELA and math. I would like to welcome Mr. Haynes back to the podium.
In our commitment to increasing student achievement through collaboration, we sought the expertise and assistance of our instructional coaches. Together, we devised a robust plan to meet the needs of all learners in the classroom. After a careful analysis of formative assessments, we pulled small groups according to their learning needs, then delivered specific skill-oriented lessons from Savvis and followed up with an immediate 5-question common formative assessment. This routine was followed with fidelity and resulted in an increase in our student proficiency in ELA and a decrease in our minimally proficient students. Now I'd like to welcome back to the podium Mrs. C.
So what we learned. Through this process, our fourth grade team learned the value of intentional planning. By following the PLC framework, we saw how starting with the end in mind, analyzing assessments, identifying essential standards, and aligning instruction resulted in greater clarity, consistency, and student success. This approach kept our focus on the most important learning targets and ensured that every lesson connected directly to our goals. Now I'd like to welcome Ms. Gowans to the podium.
What we will continue and adjust on. Our fourth grade team is committed to strengthening student learning by increasing academic conversations in math and ELA. As a team, we will continue to backwards plan around essential standards and open collaboration. We will adjust and build more time for analyzing student misconceptions and designing interventions. As a PLT, we will expand and share our process and resources across grade levels to strengthen vertical alignment. We will continue to collaborate with our instructional coaches, ESS teachers, and administration to ensure the needs of all students are met. Now, Ms. Toki will come back for any questions.
All right, thank you. We will stand for questions at this time.
I have one. With regards to the 3% increase and decrease, that's great. How many overall on the students that you guys had, how many did not get to continue to grow that still stayed behind? Was there a percentage there? Did all children excel or move forward?
I honestly, Member Destich, I don't have the exact numbers at this moment in time, but I would say a majority of our students did show growth in fourth grade. But in terms of the different levels of growth, I don't have that exact number at this moment, but I could definitely get that to you.
Oh, thank you. No, I was just wondering, because it is impressive for the 3%, but just wanted to kind of get more in depth on that. Thank you.
Yes.
An excellent job to you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your presentation. I just wondered, have you all attended the PLC conference in the past, or?
I have gone for the last 3 years, including this last year, and this past year, Mrs. C did go as well. We brought a team of teachers, and I mean, I think Mrs. C can talk to this as well, but it was extremely beneficial for our guiding coalition to be there, to plan together, to really set a vision for where we're going for our future, and to then bring that back and be that guiding force at the campus. Do you want to say anything additional to that?
Hello. I totally agree with Ms. Toki. I was very excited to be able to go to the conference, and it was very powerful from the first moment that we walked in and the stage was set by Dr. Croto, and it was, this is what's happening, this is where we're going, these are the expectations. It set the stage for everybody, and as we were sitting there, and I think we stayed for like 2.5 hours that first night just having that meeting, it was really powerful to have everybody talking and having those conversations and seeing that the whole district was on board with this. And the conversations that we had at my table, just coming together and the things that we were able to bring back, each day we gained more, and by the end, we were all on the same page with everything. We came back for our leadership meeting in August, and we were included in decisions that in the past we would have never been included in. And moving forward with the team, we moved forward with everything that was given to us, and I would say for our school, it's 100% in with all the leadership team, and the teachers are getting on board with it as we roll out the parts of it. So it was very powerful.
And you bring back the information to the other teachers that did not attend, is that?
Yes, so we had our leadership team meeting in August, and that was, or in July, sorry. And that was all of instructional cabinet. We came together, went over everything, kind of talked about like the things that we want to bring out right away. As an instructional cabinet, we brought it back to our team. So like I'm instructional cabinet for fourth grade. I brought it back to my team. I explained the things that we did. I showed them some of the slides. We talked about things, and every instructional cabinet member, K-8, did the same thing if they were there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Member Ziola, if I can just add to that, it's not bringing everything that we learned back just for that one meeting and then on. The way that our leadership team meetings run is it's professional development for our team members to then continue to build that capacity within our teams. So it's an ongoing professional development and cycle that we're in, and then provide individualized or differentiated professional development to those teams that maybe need a little bit more support. But we have a wealth of information and knowledge on our campus, and again, we're continuing to build that capacity on our campus with all of our teachers.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It really sounds like it's a shift in mindset, for our staff, but also for our students, just hearing, how you're drilling down on the data with students. I know we've done that in the past, maybe with dibbles and things like that, but I'm not sure that we've really done it as a district. So that was really interesting to hear that. I had one question. You mentioned about co-teaching. Is that something specific for that classroom because maybe they had a high population, or is that something that you normally do at your site?
Madam President Desmore, so that is something across the board that we do at Riverview, and we've gotten a lot of professional development on the different models. It is still ongoing professional development and learning together and really focusing on that planning collaboration, implementation, looking at the data together as well. But it is something that we do K-8, K through 8.
I think it's awesome. Thank you.
I have a couple questions. Under your data and evidence impact, where it says having students vocalize their thinking through academic conversations, I absolutely love this. The picture that you have the kids up at the board doing the math, that's how I learned growing up. You'd run up there and they would give you a math problem and you would have to figure it out on the board, and then if you needed help, the kids in the background would help you. So you worked as a team. I absolutely love this. So good job on that. And then when you talked about that the students own their own learning through the interacting with their own data, are you doing stuff like student-led conferences? Oh, good. I love those. I love them. My son has done them, since kindergarten, and it really shows ownership of their work. And they love to be out there and presenting it, whether they're doing good or they have improvements. So I absolutely love this, so good job.
Thank you, Member Drake.
Just want to congratulate Riverview. Good job. You were the first group to go in this new experiment, and you did a really good job. So thank you for
Thank you.
thank you for what you do, and thank you for making a difference. We appreciate you a lot. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our second school, Dr. Asai.
And our second school, even though that's a hard act to follow, is our very own Tigers, led by Rick Haney at El Mirage.
That was really good. So, good evening, Madam President, Governing Board members, Dr. Croto, Cabinet. My name is Rick Haney. This is my 22nd year in Dysart, and I've been at many schools, and I'm the proud principal at El Mirage Elementary School. And this is my team. I have Anne-Marie Johannes joining me, Kendra Wayne, Brianna Fregala, Melissa Gibson, Julie Selby, and our focus is cohort growth. As a K-4 school, we only have one chance and one opportunity to show growth, and that's fourth grade. Third grade cohort to fourth grade cohort. 3 years in a row, we got all 50 points, which is really hard to do, and this is the team that got it done. Okay, sorry. Once again, we chose this group because they are very adverse at the state testing and the formula, the A-to-F formula. So we're very proud of them once again. Our goals are to increase by 3% ELA from 43 to 46, from math from 54 to 57%, decrease the number of minimally proficient students in ELA by 3% as well, to 50%, increase reading achievement for all K-2 school students from to 80%. So they're going to be proficient from the end of year's Dibble composite score. Now from Ms. Johannes.
Good evening. My name is Ms. Johannes. I'm going to go over just some of our team actions and collaboration that we do here at El Mirage Elementary School. So what we do, we have continuous PLCs. We've been at the PLC game for a while. If you don't know what a PLC is, it is a professional learning community. We are part of a PLT, which is we are a professional learning team within our own community. So our continuous PLCs, especially for fourth grade, we have them before school, we have them during our lunchtime, we have them on Mondays when we're meeting. So we're constantly talking data, we're constantly talking kids all the time. This team is really good at our data digs. Our administration team gives us all the time to do these data digs. Our math coach, our TLS, which is our teaching and learning specialist, also helps us identify those areas of strengths and our areas of weaknesses to help us on those data digs and gives us the time to meet in order to go through that data to help students. Our strategies and formative assessments. So we do a reading CFA, which is a common formative assessment, and a math CFA every week. Our team has it so that we all stay on the same plan, if you will. We're all on the same page. Being able to look at those CFAs and seeing where we are individually and as a team helps us decide where we put kids in small group. It helps us decide how to move forward. It helps us decide if maybe that backwards design didn't work the first way we wanted to, we need to change it up, or hey, this strategy was awesome and we're gonna keep going. We also do have our tier 2. We do a math and reading tier 2. We recently had our tier 2 down from twice. We have it once. We have 2 days of reading and 2 days of math. So we work on that, and the kids are grouped in similar items that they need. It's called their win time, so it's their what I need time. So you have students grouped in that area. We do our response to intervention, which is our RTI. We have monthly RTI meetings to discuss students who need maybe some extra support. We need to bring in some of our interventionists, like our reading interventionists or our math interventionists to help. We also restructure those groups every 3 weeks, especially our tier 2 groups, because once a kid understands their multiplication, they don't need to sit in that group longer. Let's move them up, let's keep building them. We always do our small group and reteach after we look through all of our lessons. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Wayne. I'm going to talk about some of the data and evidence we've seen over the last couple years. As they were saying, we've been a team for the last 3 years. We did have a 6th for the last 2 years previously, and so it's now the fabulous 5 of us. If you look at the data, the last 3 years, we've continually gone up in our letter grade points. 50 of those points come directly from 4th grade. As they were saying in the K4 model, 50 points are given to growth, and so we only have one opportunity to show that growth from 3rd to 4th. This year, or from last year, hopefully we get that A again. We've grown at least 5 points according to what we believe our score will be. Then looking at the overall proficiency, we get 30 points from the proficiency, which is 3rd and 4th combined. We've grown continuously with that by earning 3 extra points this last year in proficiency. With our ELA data, we're at the same level as the state, so at 41% passing, and our school data for math is well above the state. We're at 52% passing, and we grew by 11% from the previous year as an overall 3rd and 4th grade combined. Then looking more specifically at our math data, just for 4th grade, we are above the district average for math. We were at 51% as a 4th grade. And then continually we've grown. We have 3rd and 4th grade side by side. The 2 green highlighted ones, the 2024, that's a cohort that we had last year. So they were in 3rd grade, they were 36% passing in math. And then when they left us last year, we had 51% passing in math. And we've just continually grown over the last several years. There was one year where we kind of dipped from 3rd to 4th. And I was actually on the 3rd grade team, and then I looped up to 4th grade. And that group had gone from 7 teachers in 3rd grade down to 5. So just kind of the class size is increasing. We did notice that, and that's when we really dove into what do these kids need specifically in those tier 2 groups and that intervention time.
All right, hello. So here you will see our data dig protocol. This is a form we use to help us dive deeper into our data and see what our students need. So this helps us determine things like intervention and which students need enrichment, as well as identifying standards that we do well on or are struggling in. This does help us derive instruction. And we can see some more of our data dig here. This is where we identify patterns and setting our goals. So When we're in our PLCs, we're thinking a lot about our guiding questions. Two of the main ones we use during our data digs are what do we want students to know and how will they learn it. And by looking at the standards and asking these questions, we are able to guide our instruction to do so.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Gibson. I too have been in the district for a while, like Haney. I'm 16 years old, and I can't imagine teaching anywhere else. I've been at Mirage all those years. So here we're looking at proficient, partially proficient, proficient, and highly proficient, and these are some math standards that we have here in fourth grade. So we look at what's the end goal. The end goal obviously is the highly proficient. So how are we going to get those kids there? That's where our rigor comes in and our differentiation. We break down the standards to determine where students are and how we can move them up within the standard to be more successful. The higher the proficiency level, the more points we get. So when we're reflecting, we have continuous growth. We're making adjustments as needed. Students are focused and data-driven, and so everyone can learn. Can I talk about Kayvon? Yeah. So everyone can learn. Kayvon is a student that started in the STC program at El Mirage in second grade. And he, last year, was in regular ed with us. Still, one of our ESS kids. Didn't really struggle, but he's on the spectrum. So, Kendra, you can explain it more. You had him.
So Kayvon was a student of mine who had tested out of STC halfway through third grade. So he came up to me in fourth grade, and he was pulled out for resource for math and reading. And he was just a student who wanted to do well. Every day he would ask, after benchmarks, Mr. Haney and Miss Ireland, our administration team, they come around and give out medals to anyone who's passed benchmarks. And we really hype up that proficiency and highly proficient. And he wanted a medal so bad, and he had worked so hard for it. And we gave him one on like the second to last day of school. He went around and he was telling everyone about it. We got the data back the day after school, and he had passed both math and reading proficiently. So it was just a really big thing to see because we really do push for these ESS kids. We work really closely with the ESS teacher about their goals, and then also supporting fourth grade goals so that they're not falling behind while they're still filling in those gaps that they need. So Kayvon is just our story that we tell everyone.
Thank you, Kendra. Again, she had him, so I got to experience him in Tier 2 times, so he is a fun kid to have around. What we're continuing is our Tier 2 math practice. We divide them up based on skill-based, starting with addition, with regrouping all the way to long division, so where they place on our placement test. We put them there. We restructure that every 3 weeks. If they don't pass, they stay in there again. If they do pass, we move them on. And then the teachers, we change up who is teaching those types of skill-based things. We do the same thing with Tier 2 reading. We use Achieve 3000. As their Lexile grows, obviously the rigor is increased for those kiddos. We have expanded opportunities for enrichment. We currently have Gifted, Math Challenge, and STEM Club.
Hi, I'm Julie Selby. That didn't go. Okay. So obviously we need to sustain this and keep this going. We constantly want the growth going and our kids to learn more and more. So we are very thankful for our time for collaboration. We, as the girls mentioned, not only do we meet in the hallway, we usually eat lunch together. We have common preps now, which we didn't always with 6 teachers. 3 teachers were on one prep, 3 teachers were on another prep. So now that we're down to 5 teachers, we have all of the same prep time, so it gives us an extra time to sit, go over data, look at where we need to go with these kiddos, and do the data digs at those times. In the past, we also had paid tutoring opportunities through our 21st Century grant, which we no longer have. We're constantly finding other ways to use funds to get teachers paid to stay after school, come in before school, and do as much as we can for our students, from 7:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. Continued small class sizes definitely makes it easier. As Kendra had mentioned, having the larger classes, sometimes 30, 32, makes it hard to pull a group of 6 or a group of 5 because you have to do several groups to meet all of the children. So by having 20, 25 students, or 26 as most of us are now, it's a matter of pulling 4 to 5 groups instead of 6 to 7. It's much easier to differentiate, to meet all of their needs, to push them. Obviously, they look at their data, we look at their data. We all want them to grow, and we want to fill those gaps where they are struggling. Sometimes it's a big jump for some of them, and other times it's just little things that we have to fill in, and then all of a sudden things click. We have a great intervention time, which is Tier 2 and our Tier 3. We have intervention, which comes in through our soft start, so the teachers can pull small groups, but we also have our specials teachers, which are art teachers, music, iExplore, and PE. Those teachers step out of their comfort zone and come up and teach groups. They sometimes come in on their prep time and work with groups. We have an amazing EL, or English language teacher, that grew so many students last year, as well as through our targeted instruction, that population grew drastically. And we have our math and reading interventionists that help us with a Tier 3 after we're doing our Tier 2 groups. So they get 3 levels of instruction. They get us for Tier 1, us for Tier 2 in smaller groups, and Tier 1 for small groups, and then they go to an intervention group sometimes, which is our Tier 3. Then we have ESS support that pushes in and pulls out students with special needs, and we also have a gifted program where our math coach is also helping us along, as well as myself, and we're pushing the kids to work on projects, not only the kids labeled gifted, but the higher percentage of students. So when they're done with their work, they can always improve and focus on, getting up closer to the 5th grade or 6th grade level as well.
So just, again, our school theme this year is going beyond our comfort zone, expanding our teacher horizons. We want all of our teachers on our campus to know that we want a growth. Doesn't matter where they came in, doesn't matter, we want to move them up and get them as far as we can. So, and that also goes along with our students. We want our students to know, not just to settle, okay, you got a 90%, so show me 100, Let's really work at it, so letting the students know that we need to also keep pushing forward.
And then this is our team for the last couple of years. In 2023, 2024, which is the start of our the growth that we kind of saw. So we had 6 teachers, which 5 out of the 6 are still here. Then last year we did have 6. That was our Halloween theme. And then this year was the start of our year, and we have our a paraprofessional in there with us for our picture, but that's the dream team. But again, it does take everyone at our school, the interventionists, the specials teachers. They're constantly, the admin team, the leadership team is constantly giving us that time to really reflect so that we can grow our students and use all those resources around us just for that, to help grow them and get that success there.
So at this time, we'd like to welcome you for questions. You can direct those to Mr. Haney if you'd like, or we would love to answer your questions as well.
It is my dream team. So one of the things they do really well is they get the best effort out of the kids. You can go in a classroom and classroom management is good and the kids look busy and they're working, but they all give the work back and say, you can do better. Mr. Johannes was just saying, you got a 90, let's get to 95, let's get to 100. So they're really good at getting best effort, and that's part of our evaluation system. It's called Culture of Learning. It's 2B. And so they score really well in 2B because they get the best out of kids. Questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I really like the slide needs for sustainability because that's one of the things when I have my one-on-ones with my team members is one of the last things I ask them is like, okay, what's your impediment? What's stopping you? How can I help you? And for you guys to show how you guys are working hard, and then also say, hey, these are the things that help us succeed, and we need to make sure that we continue it. So I very much appreciate that slide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so excellent. Bravo Zulu to you guys for the math scores. That's really impressive, especially K through 4. My only concern was the ELA, right? We've only seen in the last, from a 39 up to a 41. Have you guys put in more of a plan for this year to try to bring that ELA up for the students?
Yeah, that is our big target is the ELA. So for math, they have an accommodation in text to speech. So if you're not a good reader, if you can't read well, it'll read the question to the learner. And so there's not an equal accommodation for the reading. So, but we do identify kids. We work with them at their level, and we try to level up as much as we can. We talked about a soft start group. So my iExplore teacher has a reading endorsement, and I have 2 reading interventionists, and they meet with kids. Instead of doing duty in the morning, they're pulling kids for 15 minutes a day, 75 minutes a week to try to get those kids' reading scores increased. We also incorporate ELA standards into the social studies classes, so we can read about history, we can read about science, and then we can write about it. So that is a focus area for us. Going back to the math, we just had our first unit assessment for 4th grade, and we came in 2nd in the district.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate everything you're doing. So, bravo Zulu.
Ditto, ditto. Excellent presentation. Really loved everyone's energy as well. Just kind of piggyback off of what Board Member Destish was saying, do you typically have a higher population of EL students?
Yes, Madam President, we were 2nd. We were like 2 behind Thompson Ranch.
Okay.
We were 2nd lowest socioeconomic in the district as well. So we came in 1st as far as Title I schools. We came in 5th overall in the district as far as A to F scores. 1 point away from 3rd place.
I saw that. Congratulations.
I am proud of that. 3rd place is our goal this year.
Yeah. Just really impressive, just based on everything you're already up against. So I just appreciate all the work that you do there.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. Are you seeing an increase from 3rd grade to 4th grade coming in for ELA and math to where you're pulling a lot more small groups?
An increase in ELA?
Just in the students coming from 3rd grade to 4th, because it sounds like they're pulling a lot more small groups.
Okay.
Is that
this
normal?
year in general, we've noticed, in particular, that this year, I'll just be very blunt. So we have a lot of really high readers this year that came in. They're DIBELS. We just did DIBELS assessments, and we have a lot of blue and green readers, so they're highly proficient and proficient. And then we were noticing that AASA data didn't really reflect that. We have like, I think 53% that were minimally proficient. So they're not even at that partially proficient. So that's what we've really actually as a team been diving into more is we feel really strongly about our math tier 2 time and how we move kids there. So we've truly tried to focus on our reading tier 2 time. So we actually have, we've been given specials teachers during an extra time. So we've now been able to take a lot of those red who are intensive readers and really need to get that fluency. So that allows us now to not have to work with them in a small group, and we can really focus on pushing that comprehension, because 4th grade is really that time where they have to start like, okay, I can read, but like, what did I just read about?
Right.
So now we can actually focus on that comprehension, where before we didn't have as many teachers to kind of spread out those small groups. So we were taking on a lot of that during that time. We had like the resources and the tools and stuff like that, but we couldn't do it in the classroom, or now we can spread out those small groups and hopefully push that comprehension.
Okay. Now, are you noticing with the lower grades too, the K through 3, are they utilizing the same program as the Fab 5 to?
So this year, I believe our K3 is focusing a lot on reading, because that's one thing we do go to them a lot and say everything we need, because it does rely on us, but we can't do it if they don't give us these, these kids that we can help grow.
Right.
So no, we work with all the instructional cabinet. We talk to them all the time at our staff meetings about how they can get there, and they're focusing a lot, I know, this year on tier 2 for reading, so that we can get them up there.
Great, thank you.
I just want to say that's great news. Thank you.
Thank you. And so at our school, we have a couple catchphrases. So one of them is Tigers. Roar! Kids say it all the time. And then we say, when you miss school, you miss out. Because the kids that don't grow are the ones that aren't coming. And we know that, so we need them to come to school. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you. You continue to do amazing things. You have a great culture and a great learning environment over there. And thank you for stepping up and doing the board report. So like Riverview, you guys are the first to go, and you did a great job. So I know it's not easy, but thank you, and thank you for what you do. You're magical. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to thank you, Dr. Croto, for bringing this new format to the boardroom. I'm really excited about the next ones.
You're welcome.
All right. The next information item we have is information on Spalding. Dr. Croto.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, we continue with information on Spalding, as the board has asked. And just a quick update by Dr. Asai on where we're at with the Spalding process. Dr. Asai?
Good evening again, Madam President, Dr. Croto, members of the board. My presentation, I just feel, is going to be lackluster compared to that, but here we go. This is your update on Spalding. The objective of our presentation really is to update the board on the status of Spalding and Dysart. To remind you, we did a presentation in, I believe, May, and we talked about that we're using the DIBELS tool, which measures reading composite score percent of students at or above benchmark. You just heard Mirage refer to that. It's really, DIBELS is a measure of can students read. It doesn't go into how does the author move the plot along, those standards that they were talking about on AASA. It's can I retell a story? Can I read fluently? How many words can I say per minute? We measure this 3 times a year, at the beginning of the year, the mid-year, and the end of year. Spalding is currently used to teach phonics at Freedom and at Countryside. It is not used as our sole Tier 1. Our Tier 1 that really gets to those AASA standards is our HMH series. Spalding is used to teach our phonics. At Freedom and Countryside, our other schools use 95%. Spalding is supplemented with 95% for Tier 2 at Freedom. The board had asked to see everyone's scores for 24-25, and the board's had this packet, so I'm thinking that you had time to go over it. We can go over it more in detail. It displays the beginning of the year, the mid-year, and end-of-year data for each school. Our focus for Spalding, as we said, is Countryside and Freedom. Countryside, this was the second year of implementation at their site for kindergarten, and they finished at 68, which was just below the average. Freedom finished at 91, which was our top school, or our second school, I'm sorry. Canyon Ridge was first and Freedom was second. In first grade, you can see the beginning year, mid-year, and end-of-year data. When looking at this, you'll notice our end-of-year data for first, and you'll see this pattern with second, is lower than it is in kinder and third. We have a new reading coordinator, Rebecca Willey, who has some ideas around this in regards to explicit instruction in phonics and getting kids into books sooner. It is important to note in first grade, the ORF is introduced as a measure of how well kids do. What the ORF does is it measures fluency. How many words can I call in a minute? And then in second grade, the maze is introduced, and the maze is retell. So it doesn't necessarily measure the same components from kinder to first to second to third. We add things on as kids should be reading more fluently, they should be able to retell, versus kindergarten where it's more phonemic seg. What's the letter sound, the letter names, can I read nonsense words? And then our third grade, we're back up to 68% by the end of the year. For this, Countryside was not using Spalding. Freedom was using Spalding. We did have the opportunity to meet with the Spalding rep. Her story is phenomenal. If you've heard her story, she did use Spalding to get great achievement at both a more traditional school, and then she replicated that at a title school. So we were really excited to meet with her, as we had heard that Spalding has new Tier 2 resources. Tier 2, again, is important to us because you heard them talk about the small groups they're forming based on deficits. That's Tier 2. When we met with her, she explained to us in the Spalding Resource Center there are Tier 2 resources, which we were unaware of. I think Freedom was a little bit aware of those. They're not as direct as the resources we use now. With the resources we have now, it's a very if-then. If a kid is having trouble with short A, then you teach this lesson. If a kid is having trouble with CVC words, then you teach this lesson. This is more, there's a bank of resources to use for Tier 2, and the teacher kind of has to go in and find it. We did have a list of questions after we met with her. She did offer to take us on learning walks. They've done some great work in Alhambra that their white papers came out on. So we are interested to go and see how Spalding is working in Alhambra. How do they implement that? And she did offer to come and walk with our sites, to walk with both Freedom and Countryside, and Connie, our director of curriculum, and with Rebecca, our literacy coordinator. We do have some pending questions that we posed to her. Unfortunately, she was traveling for the last week and a half, so these are still outstanding questions. I was hoping to have some of these answers for you tonight, but these are some things we want to continue and explore. So I can't tell you we're to a place where we can say, hey, you know, these resources are great. Here we go. It answered all our questions. So one was, how does Spalding ensure that daily lessons align directly with the state ELA standards at each grade level, including both foundational skills and grade level comprehension? She was talking about some schools are using it as a Tier 1. The way we use it is just for phonics. They do have an anthology. The stories are a little bit dated. I believe the anthology was from the 60s or 70s. And some of the stories they recommend are out of print. So if we did go in this direction at some point in time, we would have to find some stories to supplement with. But I feel like we have to supplement with almost everything, so not the end of our world. Our second question was, what tools, rubrics, and processes does Spalding provide to help teachers track mastery of individual standards, not just overall reading proficiency? And this was one of the things that they really grappled with at Freedom, is it wasn't necessarily aligned to a grade level comprehension standard or something like that. And you know, how do we track those individual standards? It's kind of like, hey, you're reading fluently. That's great. You can recognize the CVC words. So it wasn't digging down as much, perhaps. She did say they're developing some new tools, so we are interested in seeing what those come out to be. How does the program support diverse learners, such as English learners, students below grade levels, and those with dyslexia, while still keeping them engaged in grade level content? When you get the more comprehensive curriculums, they tend to have, here's what to do with your ESS kids, here's some additional support for your EL kids to scaffold up so teachers don't have to go out and find their own resources. Our elementary teachers plan so much a day that it's hard to plan for those 4 or 5 areas at 3 different levels. So when those things happen in a curriculum, it makes it a lot easier. What guidance does Spalding offer for identifying skills gap quickly in adjusted instruction? Currently, our teachers are accustomed to using something called the PASSI. So when kids take the PASSI, the first things they do is they name the letters. And then they go and they name the letter sounds. Then they go and they read like CVC words. Then they read long A words. And when they start missing things, that tool tells us exactly where that deficit is. In Spalding, it's my understanding, we have a spelling test. And what was the other one, Connie? Huh? And a phonogram test, I'm sorry. So it doesn't go as in-depth as our teachers are used to. It could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. It has the teacher bring more to the table with how am I gonna go out and find the interventions without them being prescribed. The skill deficits, again, how are they diagnosed with Spalding? We ask, can you provide a diagnostic tool that would help us identify something similar to the PASSI that's really easy, especially for our teachers who are EPP teachers who haven't been to school. You know, this is what they're learning. They aren't necessarily reading experts yet, our first year teachers. So is there a tool that would really help them just, here's the problem and here's I know what to do. And then what specific aligned resources are available? She is planning to answer these questions this week. I do believe she has some answers for many of them, but like I said, we don't have them at this time. So we kind of thought, what are our next steps regardless? We definitely are going to go and visit the Spalding classes with their representatives in Alhambra. We want to see what's Alhambra doing, you know, what can we learn from that? And she's going to walk our rooms at both Freedom and Countryside because why we've had internal observers, why Connie has been over to Countryside and Chantel has been to Freedom. We want those outside eyes because it always helps to have an outside perspective, especially from the company. When all data is gathered, we'll reconvene to assess the resources provided. And by that, I mean when she talked about the Tier 2, we haven't seen the Tier 2 resources. Are they going to be something that our teachers can just kind of go, okay, here's what I need? Or is it going to be, ooh, I have these 5 things. Which one should I use? Because we really almost need that if-then. We will continue, which we could also create if we know the resources, how easy might it be for my department to align them in an if-then way. We'll continue to evaluate Spalding in our district as our countryside kids roll up and we bring more people on board. And then we have not yet surveyed our staff. Now that we have all our staff back and they're kind of in the groove of things, we do want to survey current Spalding teachers regarding their use of Spalding, working with research. How easy is it for them to implement? Do they feel it's beneficial to their students? What does that look like? And also survey all K-3 teachers about their interest in Spalding. Do El Mirage teachers have an interest in transitioning over? Do Thompson Ranch teachers have an interest in transitioning over? So we can look at that and see, are there places that we can expand it next year based on teacher interest? Because we know when teachers are interested, they tend to expend more effort when they want to do those things. So I will open it to discussions and questions from the board.
I want to thank you for coming back to us with this valuable information. With some of those questions that you had, with the Tier 1, because I'm under the perception that Spalding does now meet our state standards. I don't know if that's true or not.
Spalding, I believe, meets the state standard. It meets some of the state standards, right? In terms of, it doesn't have, in the state standards, it talks about the 6 syllable types, which it doesn't cover, which we would have to make something to supplement. So we could take what's there, we would supplement the rest.
Okay.
That's what we're doing at Freedom right now.
Yeah, I thought that this year that they actually got accredited to match our state standards.
They do have, so they are approved as a Tier 1. They do have the anthology. We still, that's one of our questions still. Can you give us a map? We haven't seen a map to say, okay, this is exactly how it aligns. I think I'm turning to Connie to see. No, you can't. Yeah, we haven't seen it yet. We're waiting to see that because we do want to make sure things are aligned. Because you passed, it doesn't mean that everything's perfectly there. I don't know if anything is in any curriculum, though, to be honest.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned the visits with Alhambra, have you had conversations with them to see how they're using it?
I have not in Alhambra. I have in Maricopa.
Okay.
I was under the impression that Maricopa was looking to adopt them for all of Tier 1. I do not believe that they are. They're out for bid for something else, and they're supplementing. They're using it for their phonics like we are. So they're not using it for their reading standards. They're using it for phonics right now, and they are supplementing for some other things. So she said it works well when they're supplementing right now. Mm-hmm. And, is it their potential partner if we were to go down this road more, that maybe we could work on aligning those resources and kind of like with the Tier 2 things, how do we make that work?
And do you know if they're using it district-wide, or do they have like a similar traditional school?
I believe Maricopa is using it district-wide. With Alhambra, I believe half their schools are using it. And I do believe that half of their schools, I would have to go back and look at the white paper, so I don't want to misspeak, but that they did well.
Okay, and do you have dates for those visits yet?
We do not. We're waiting to hear from the representative to set those up.
Okay, will you please share those with the board?
I will share them in my update, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Quick question. Currently, Freedom, we're using a lot of supplementals for the Tier 1, is that true?
No, for Freedom, I'm going to turn to Connie, we use HMH for our Tier 1. And so HMH is our Tier 1. We use Spalding for our Tier 1 phonics, but then we supplement with our 95% for Tier 2.
Thank you. And the same with Canyon?
A Countryside.
Countryside.
Yes,
sorry.
Countryside mimicked Freedom. We wanted it to be, because our philosophy was, hey, Freedom's doing really well with it. Can this be replicated in other places? So that's why Connie and Chantel worked really well together on that.
All right, thank you.
When I got on the website of Spalding, the gal who got it going, she said that it was specifically for, it would help kids with dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so I guess I'm not understanding why you're making it sound like it's not, you're questioning how.
I'm not questioning, I'm looking at the results we have. Members, like when I look at Thompson has a 91% pass rate. It would be hard for me to tell them, I'm going to change you based on not seeing those same results somewhere else. And I think with vendors, we always want to be cautious with vendors. You know, we have, and I'll cite, we're having a conversation up in Asante where they say, oh, we're going to build a school, the realtors do. The realtors don't build the school, they promise that. A vendor is a vendor, and why I'm sure some things help with dyslexia and other things, you know, it depends on it. I'm not saying it doesn't, I'm not saying it does, I'm saying based on our results right now, I can't tell you that it's going to be a silver bullet.
Okay, because on some of these percentages, some look good in our district, but some don't.
You're exactly right. We have room to grow, and that's that's been one of my questions when we've been in groups, is that if two of my highest title schools can produce 91 and 89% respectively, having 13% come in at the beginning of the year passing reading, according to Dibbles, why can't we do that at all of our schools? I think that's a very valid question that you have, and it's a great question. Why are we not producing 90% across the board? I guess what I can't tell you right now is I would like to tell you, I liked the vendor when we met with her. She was very nice, and I would like to tell you, hey, it'll work. It worked at Freedom. It hasn't worked at Countryside to the degree it's worked at Freedom yet. And Thompson Ranch and Riverview stand in contradiction to their data with that.
Did you look at the videos they have on the website of Spalding? They just kind of show how they teach it to the kids, and
I've seen it.
I was kind of impressed by it.
Yeah, it looks really good. They're using explicit instruction, and it's exactly what we should be doing in classes. With any phonics program, you want to use explicit instruction. I think we saw some of that today when we were at Thompson Ranch. We saw explicit instruction in kindergarten. When you follow a program and you follow it the way it's supposed to be, a multi-million-dollar program, you're going to get results if you do it with fidelity.
Thank you.
Madam President, we will continue to update you. Obviously, we are looking into it as we promised and trying to gather all the data. This is not a quick decision. There is a lot of professional development that goes with this and anything we do. This is a 3 to 5 year decision. It would take that long to process this through that district, and we want to make sure we're doing the right thing and providing the governing board with the resources to finally make that decision. But you're looking at something, should you do this and should we move that way? You're talking 3 to 5 years before you really get a foundation set, and everybody, just the training itself is 2 full years for teachers of training. So it's quite a process, and we want to gather the data and make sure we're making a very good decision about what we're going to do.
How is that training handled or managed now?
It's measured, they go in the summer, I believe. Connie, you want to address that? You sent them?
Okay.
We did discuss having trainers of trainers with the district, but they have to meet certain requirements before Spalding will let them train. Right now, we have a very, very few that actually meet their requirements. We did have that discussion with the rep about how we could expedite that. The training is very expensive, but in order to send it, that would be every teacher that K-3 that would need to do this. So like I said, it's a very extensive process, and we just want to make sure we're gathering the data and presenting that to the governing board accordingly.
I do think it's very important to note that we do need to give it time. We saw better results in Countryside the second year for kindergarten than we did the first year. And I do think having both those summers of training is going to be really important. My question is, I think that first grade at Countryside will do better this year than they did last year because they had that extra training. So that's why it's so complex. You have so many different factors going into it. So I do think we do need to continue to give it time and look. And the last question is, in regards to Member Scavara's question about the AASA, the standards, do these kids with a firm phonics base do better on AASA when they take it? Because we know that phonics produces fluency. Fluency is the biggest predictor of comprehension, which is really the AASA. And that was really our ultimate goal when we did it, to see, does this increase that? And we won't know that for another year. But I do think those are things that we're really going to want to look and study. I'm excited to see what it does.
Can I ask how many schools use it now in Maricopa County? Did you already?
I'm not sure Maricopa County. I know when we talked to the rep that, like I said, the Alhambra schools are using it. Maricopa, is Maricopa in Pinal County or Maricopa County? I think Maricopa County. I know they do. Lots of your traditional schools use it. So like Gilbert Classical Academy uses it. It's very widely used in all of our traditional schools.
And
I can find out for you, though.
She provided us those two schools. She provided those examples, so that's where she said she would take us to look, to see what's going on.
Are we planning on having it done in some more of our schools besides Countryside?
Can't answer that right now.
Okay.
It depends on the commitment to what we want to do and if it's truly working. Like I said, it takes a lot to make this work, and if we're going to commit, we need to commit. We're going to commit a lot of resources, and we need to make sure it's the correct decision before we do that. So we are looking into that. We will continue. Hopefully, she gets us the answers to those questions and she sets up our visits pretty soon. And we will come back with another update once we do that.
Just some things to think about maybe for the next update. And you might be able to answer these now, I'm not sure. Just hearing that, we're using 95% for like the tier 2, right? But maybe is there something that's maybe better compatible with Spalding than 95%? Like, I'm just curious what other maybe traditional schools, the ones that are using Spalding now, what kind of combination they're using.
I can definitely call around. I think we can call our friends in Gilbert and I believe in Deer Valley and those districts, and we can ask if they are, number one, are they supplementing?
Right.
And number two, if so, what are they supplementing with?
Okay. And in addition to the survey for Spalding, the interest in Spalding or, the experience with it for that matter, I'm also interested in a survey on 95% just to see how those teachers are feeling about that program. Because, and it's just, anecdotal, but, teachers that I've talked to aren't thrilled with it. But, I don't know what that means, so.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If we're going to do one, it would make sense to do another. And, I'm not sure if they'll be thrilled with any scripted program. However, we do know that explicit phonics instruction, when it's scripted, regardless of if it's Spalding in places where it's working or if it's in 95, that's scripted, very precise, explicit instruction, like members Iola referred to on the videos. That's what makes a big difference in anything.
Okay.
And we will include 95 into that survey.
Okay.
One reason it's important to the survey is that's our staff. There's going to be buy-in. There's going to be a lot of time commitment on their part. And if they're not willing to do that, then we need to know that up front also of their time commitment in the summer. There's going to be time commitment to professional development in order to get the program off the ground. So we need to gauge that and see where we are. That's an important piece for us.
In addition to the cost of the program, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll maybe get a little bit more next time. Okay.
Is there anything else the board would like included in the next report out?
What about including the HRH?
HMH?
What's the other supplement? I'm sorry, it's getting late
Oh, it's
for me.
it's our tier 1. It's not a supplement. The
Okay.
HMH, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be different. It would.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Asai, when you were talking about the ASA results, aren't we getting anything from Freedom right now?
We do have great results at Freedom right now. The original research question was, does implementing Spalding at Countryside does it raise theirs?
Oh, okay.
So you are absolutely right in what you say, though, that Freedom is getting fantastic third grade scores, yes.
Because I'm just noticing with these results, Freedom is consistent every year. From kindergarten, first, there was a little dip in the second, but then these other schools are all over the board.
Yeah,
and I'm very concerned.
And we both are very concerned about that because the question is, why do we dip in first and second grade, right? Yes. Is why do we not stay up? It seems to happen in a lot of places. And that's what Rebecca's working on this year, is she's shared literacy progressions and better targets for the schools about here's where your target should be to stay on task or to stay where you need to. She's also working with schools on making sure that all kids get into books earlier. Kids at Freedom tend to get into books a lot earlier, whether you want to say because it's pushed down or it's just good practice. So one of our things district-wide is a big push in first and second grade to not have the teacher doing the reading, because if the teacher's doing the reading and the kids are answering, it's listening comprehension and not reading comprehension. So we do have a problem there.
And then also with the schools, I know that on the Spalding website, they have a ton, well, I can't say a ton, here in Arizona of schools that are accredited. You could probably contact and, excuse me, and see what they're utilizing too, which is another thing I've always wondered too, why isn't Freedom accredited?
I'll turn to Connie since she's here.
Yeah, that was... I'm not sure, because a lot of them that utilize Spalding are accredited. They got the accreditation through them. So I don't know if that's something we can look into for Freedom. Yeah, because it's on their
We
website.
can look into Spalding accreditation. I don't think we knew it existed. So.
Yeah, on their website. I think they have like 4 or 5 schools here that are accredited.
I'm wondering if one of them's in Alhambra, and that's why she wants to take us to Alhambra.
Oh, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. There's
Yeah.
not a whole lot here in Arizona, and the majority of them are traditional schools, so.
Yeah, and in Alhambra, one of her sources of pride in Alhambra, and like I said, the representative's name is Rebecca,
Yeah.
and she went and she taught in a traditional school, and then she transferred that to a title school.
Right.
So she it seems like they've done some of that in Alhambra, and that's one of the reasons we were really interested. She goes, we expanded it beyond the traditional schools to other schools, which is really what we want to see. Does that work? So we're very interested to especially go to Alhambra.
Okay, all right, please keep us posted. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Moving to information item 3, Dr. Croto.
Thank you, Madam President. Per request from the governing board, again, we have some information on Canyon Ridge Elementary School STEM, and that is Dr. Sy with this presentation.
Good evening again, Madam President, members of the board. Now we will talk about STEM at Canyon Ridge. I wanted to start with a brief overview of what STEM is, because at one time I thought it was science, technology, education, and math. It is not science, teaching or education. It is science, technology, engineering, and math. And what STEM seeks to do is really to create real-life problems to blur these disciplines together, because very few times in real life does technology just stay technology. Most of the time, anybody who is in that technology field also has to have an idea of the science behind it and the math. In regards to STEM at Canyon Ridge, STEM is focused on the integration, of course, of science, technology, engineering, and math, as aligned to the state standards. However, they do place a strong emphasis on reading, writing, and civics. And I think that's really important to note, because some schools, when they say we're doing STEM, they leave reading and writing behind. I don't know how they do that, because kids should be reading informational text to acquire information on what they're studying. They should also be writing reports and reporting out on what they learned. STEM, a philosophy of STEM, is hands-on learning and real-life application. So there's problems posed to students. It might be mimicking something that happened in nature, and they have to create a solution. It could be a problem-based thing. Electricity's gone down. What are we going to do for the day in engineering a problem? But it has to do with the engineering design process of identifying a problem, looking at our resources, what do we have, working our way through that. And almost all the STEM projects involve teamwork. Students are not given group grades. However, they are expected to work in teams, because they'll be working in teams most likely when they go out into the real world. And we know that sometimes our engineers or other people, they need those communication skills. So we foster those. Their projects seek to integrate technology. It could be 3D printing, it could be coding, robotics, or other technologies. And they really work to highlight pathways and to trades and education in these areas. Some things that they've done, they work with the Society of Automotive Engineers. Those are retired engineers from a car company, I can't remember which one. They come in and really work with the students. Canyon Ridge has guest speakers that come in. They have done Zoom sessions with scientists from NASA. They have had APS come in with their infrared technology and introduce them to the field. I guess infrared technology is a whole field. I had no idea. And they work to go on field trips to places like TGen, where they might be employed in the future, and to universities. The specific request on this item was the STEM Festival at Canyon Ridge in the 6th grade Sustainable Housing Project. So we'll narrow in a little bit. For the STEM Festival at the Canyon Ridge, you can see what each grade did. I can go into these a little bit more in detail, but all of them are based on engineering. I think the most interesting one is in 2nd grade. 2nd graders were studying the concept of biomimicry, and they had to design a helicopter that dispersed seeds, which I thought was pretty cool for 2nd graders. They did bouncing bubbles. They had to design a wand that would put out the most bubbles. Coding, gliders, the Sustainable Housing Project, which we'll talk about in more detail. Spheros, so they had to design this little ball they have to program on their phone, and it has to work its way through a maze. So there was a multitude of different things that they did. I did put the Arizona State standards up here for renewable energy and human impact. You'll see that these standards come in 4th grade, 6th grade, and 8th grade. They're also embedded in some of our high school standards. To remind you, we do not choose the standards. Those are chosen by the state of Arizona. We are charged with teaching the standards. So we went into the unit and we really looked at the unit. It was aligned to L2 U311 of life standards and to 12. The unit was aligned to the Arizona standards. Students did have options for this project. So in the project, the first thing I had to do was I had to choose a location for my house. They were given 6 locations. I think the team is re-engineering that so they can pick any place in the country. We're not going to limit them to Oregon and California. They can build anywhere they want in Arizona and Texas. But the next thing they have to do is they have to research the environment there. So in Arizona, one of the biggest problems we deal with is heat. So how can I build a house that is going to withstand the heat? In some places it might be flooding, in some places it might be a tornado. So they have to really research what source from the environment can help or hurt their house. I'm sorry, I lost my thought there. They had to look at the energy sources that would be best for that region. For the purpose of this assignment, they looked at solar, I think they looked at hydro, and they looked at wind. They're going to expand that in the future, and if they want to use coal, they can use coal, but they can use an energy source within their region. For example, in Alaska, they probably wouldn't get a good grade if they said, I'm using solar power in Alaska. That just wouldn't make sense. So they had to match the energy source with their region. They had to select energy efficient appliances, most likely because they're young and they're broke. They want to save some money, but they had to price out how much would that be. How much is it going to cost me to run this refrigerator for a year? How much will it cost me to do my oven for a year? They had to get sustainable building materials. A list was given. The school is going to expand that next year, so they can also use resources like timber or something like that. That wasn't counted in this project because we're making it anything. How can you build a house that how can you build a house that is best suited for your environment? And then they had to choose eco-friendly landscaping and gardening. Students were asked to integrate math, as you can see, by pricing the items out. They had to measure their house. They had to say, according to measurement, for example, how much would my solar panels cost me? They had to look at the science of how humans interact with the environment and their footprint. In language arts, they did have to write about this. So all of these things, after they did them, they had to turn them into Jane Schaefer paragraphs and say, I chose these appliances because, and they would write about it. The project was anchored in the context of reducing building impact on the environment as aligned with the standard. We did look at the videos, which were from Discovery Learning, and they were approved. And I put the highlights of the videos up there. So there was a video on renewable energy. It stated that renewable energy helps to combat climate change, that these are a reliable source of power, that they term them as fuel friendly as compared to fossil fuels. They did cite downsides such as scaling at need, leading to ecological destruction, and they could be intermittent power sources. It stated that fossil fuels in the fossil fuel video was from a non-renewable source, how they came to be, what they can be used for. They claimed that they contributed to climate change and cited them as creating the majority of human-caused greenhouse emissions. Actually, I'm going to go back to the slide. So in the future, what Canyon Ridge will be doing is they will omit both of these videos, and they're going to present it from more of a, here's wind power, here are the pros and cons associated with wind power. Here's coal, here are the pros and cons of getting an energy source from coal. You know, here is the pros and cons of building something with bamboo, here's the pros and cons of building something with timber. So it's going to take any reference to friendly, non-friendly, the causes of climate change, that'll be removed. Standards on what will we do to safeguard anything like this in the future? So standards in the environment and human impact are really going to work to be taught from the lens of pros and cons for each source and actually outlined and explored. They're going to use this information, using this information, students will determine which source is best for the given criteria and constraints. They will continue to always be grounded in the requirements of the Arizona standards. Additionally, students will be graded on their ability to substantiate their choice based on evidence, not on the source they choose. So if my child were to say, hey, I don't want to do wind, I'm going to continue with a traditional energy source, that child will not be graded down, as long as they can explain their answer and justify their answer. Some things we've already put in place. Tiffany, our science specialist who is here, is doing PD with science teachers to ensure information does not lead students to favor one energy source over the other. It's our job to teach the pros and cons, not to teach them what to favor. A science content specialist is reviewing the scope and sequence and projects to ensure they're free of bias and align directly to the state standards. And Canyon is reviewing this unit. I already outlined some of the changes that they're going to make. To ensure that resources such as coal, natural gas, and oil are included as viable options, as well as the house could be built from traditional building material such as concrete, steel, and lumber. In closing, as a district, we'll continue to equip students with the critical thinking skills to evaluate complex real-world issues through examining multiple perspectives. And topics like renewable energy will be continued to be approached with care and balance, especially if they become part of the larger, broader public conversation.
I really appreciate this, thank you. Just one of the things, and I know I've brought it up to you before, when I went and saw, I mean, the little presentations they had, the houses and that, they were really cute. But what it would have been really nice was to have a report, right? Why did they choose this over this? Even if they're within that environment. I mean, they're sixth graders. This is that whole, I'm choosing this for this reason, for this environment, for this region or whatever. It would be nice to be able to see that and pros and cons of each of the items that they researched, because in life, they're going to have to make decisions, and that's going to be looking at pros and cons every day. And this is a really good foundation to help them look at both pros, cons of everything, and then make a decision based on what they think is best. And it would be nice to see that when you're coming out and you're looking at these events, to kind of get an idea how.
A good idea of their thought they had going into the project.
Right, thank you. And I really appreciate you putting this together. I do, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I just wondered, when I was sent the curriculum for the sixth grade science classes, they had other things like solar system, nuclear energy, and there were just other topics. And I was just wondering why it seemed like there were, I thought maybe 40 exhibits or whatever, that they were all exactly the same, it seemed like. I don't know, that's...
For this, that's because that was the problem they were given. So in contrast to maybe, like we used to do science fairs when I was younger, and you picked your own topic, and it could be any topic you learned about through the year. And in the STEM focus, the way they're doing it, it was grounded in a given problem. So the given problem was within that idea of the sustainable house, and then they had choice within that.
And I appreciate that you are getting a variety with the coal, and I guess I didn't realize they were just talking about Arizona housing. I mean, because if you're going to talk about the whole country, you're going to have a lot of different
And there are options all out there, and that's part of, is when this was brought, I think it gives us a really good opportunity to examine, like when we do our document-based questions for social studies, we say, here's this side and this side. What do you believe, and what does it tell you? So I think adding that to that with the pros and cons is going to make this assignment even more robust.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, we are going to move to action discussion. My computer would like to work. Yours isn't working either. Hold on. I move to approve the 2025-2026 revised expenditure budget.
I second.
Motion carries. Moving to item J1, do we have any requests for future agenda items?
Yeah, I actually have 3 requests for future agenda items. The first one would be a discussion on President Densmore. You claimed there was an event that interrupted our meeting last time. I would like to have a discussion about what event that was, because I disagree. The meeting was not interrupted. The next one would be a board discussion on policy 1-102, board authority, responsibilities, and immunities. 1-102. And then I would also like a board discussion and possible vote on the implementation of a measure that the Peoria School Board did on the seating arrangement on the dais. Yes, so the Peoria School Board, they actually, on the dais is only the elected officials. The superintendent no longer sits with the school board on the dais.
Any other requests for future agenda items? I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.